Hey everyone, we know how hard it can be to keep up with the latest news in Israel. So if you haven't had the time to stay on top of what's what in the Holy Land, we're here for you. I'm Ladar Gavelazi, and this is ILTV's Weekly Review.
Tens of thousands of people came out across the country to support the families of hostages in a nationwide strike called the Day of Stoppage. This in an effort to pressure the government to agree to a hostage deal, although Hamas needs to show flexibility before anything else. ILTV's Shosh Bedrosian reports in Hostage Square now with the details. Shosh?
Well, Sivan, I have not seen this many people in Hostage Square during the day since the last hostage release. Of course, that was back in February. Today marks 681 days, with tens of thousands of people hitting the streets here in Tel Aviv to protest for a hostage and a ceasefire deal. Here in Hostage Square, there have been a display of different types of people here, with mothers, with doctors, with people who have left work from the high-tech sector as well. All different types of people coming out to support the families of hostages who so desperately want their loved ones to come back home. From intersections around the country to the center of the movement in Hostages Square, tens of thousands of people came out to support the families of hostages. Israelis from the north and south explaining the protest underscores the values of society in the Jewish state.
681 days, it's more than enough. And we should do something in order to bring them back.
Mothers held a march with their strollers this morning that ended in Hostages Square. Even in the scorching heat, one mother who marched with her baby tells ILTV the pain of every mother whose child is a captive reverberates throughout them all.
My firstborn daughter, my oldest, she was not even 2 years old, and the first thing I thought when I saw the kidnapped children was, what would I do? How would I feel if that happened to me, if my children were kidnapped or if I was with them? And it wrenches your heart in a way that I feel is worse.
The teacher of hostage Avinatan Or also tells ILTV they're holding out to hope that the 32-year-old will overcome the obstacles he's forced to deal with in captivity.
The family is trying to hold on. We hold on to every shred of hope. We are hopeful because at the time, on October 7th, he was in very good physical shape. Avinatan is a computer geek like me, but he's also a CrossFit enthusiast, and he was in great physical shape. It's one thing that gave us hope. We now know that he's starved. We got one sign of life report on March 12th, which was quite a while ago, saying that he was seen extremely gaunt, starved and beaten, alone in a tunnel.
As negotiators between Israel and Hamas become deadlocked in July because the terror group responded with more demands, Hamas apparently has now come back to the table with more willingness to reach a partial agreement. However, in line with the tune of the Trump administration, the Prime Minister's office insists a comprehensive deal to get all the hostages out at one time needs to be reached now. The families and supporters of hostages also agree. The president of Israel arrived in Hostages Square today.
Our sons and daughters are there in the dungeons of Gaza for 681 days. We want them back home as soon as possible. The world should want them back home as soon as possible. Stop being a bunch of hypocrites. Press, because when you know how to press, you press. Press and tell Hamas, no deal, no nothing until you release them. And I want to say to our brothers and sisters all over the world, we are together in this plight. We want the hostages back home. They are the most important issue in world affairs, and we want to see them back home as soon as possible. Toda rabah.
And it's been an incredibly emotional and heavy day here from the beginning of the morning, with the parents and mothers and fathers of some of these hostages coming out to speak to remind the public of who is still trapped in Hamas captivity, dead or alive. They say every single hostage, all 50 of them, need to come home as soon as possible. Sivan?
God willing, thank you very much, Shosh.
And joining me now to discuss the latest developments is Ariel Khana, a veteran Israeli journalist, and Rami Igra, the former head of the Mossad MIA unit. Thank you both so much for being with us today.
Hi. Thank you.
So given the renewed involvement of Egypt and Qatar trying to broker a deal with Hamas and other terror groups, of course, in Gaza, what are the major sticking points the current negotiation is working with right now? In July, we know the terror group actually came back to the table with more demands. Israel continues to suggest Hamas is not interested in making a deal. What's your take on this so far and this apparent new flexibility they're showing? Rami, let's start with you.
Hamas has had the same position from the beginning till now. Hamas wants, at the end of the day, the cessation of hostilities and somehow a deal that will enable them to continue and exist in the Gaza Strip, whether they're disarmed or not disarmed. And the big question really at the deal at the end of the day for the release of all the hostages and the cessation of these hostilities is the question of what is going to be the next step. Who is going to govern the Gaza Strip? What are they going to do there in the long term to dismantle the Hamas and the jihadist ideology that is ruling there? And what are the other countries in the area going to contribute into the rehabilitation of the Gaza Strip?
And Ariel, we know that Israel's one of their objectives, of course, is to demilitarize Gaza, make sure that the Gaza Strip does not have a threat to the state of Israel anymore, and to get Hamas completely out. Does Hamas still pose as a threat to the state of Israel at this point in time of the war?
Yes, of course, no question about that. Hamas, unfortunately, after almost 2 years of war, is still an active terror organization with capabilities even to shoot missiles from time to time, as are trying to kidnap soldiers, and almost every day. All the underground city of Gaza is unfortunately still active, although the IDF destroyed a lot of it. Still, it's so huge that there is a lot of work to do. I'll tell you on top of that, Hamas militants are taking bombs that will not explode by the IDF and now use them against the soldiers. And as they say publicly, they do prepare and they will try to attack Israel once again if they will be able to do it. So no question that Hamas is still an active organization. And actually, that's why Israel is moving to the next phase, which is, that's what it is say, try to eliminate Hamas once and for all in the coming phase in Gaza City.
Right, and the Prime Minister actually just said yesterday that if these rallies that are happening, they basically said they're not helping the situation, and basically saying that if Hamas is not weeded out, it continue the horrors in the future when it comes to Hamas. We know that Qatar and Egypt are once again playing key roles in these negotiations happening inside of Egypt at this point in time. Why would the Prime Minister of Qatar actually fly in to help? Has it reached a high level, Rami? Tell me about that.
No, I'd like to relate to Ariel's comment a minute ago. It is true that Hamas is an active organization, but it is not a real threat to Israel anymore. And the big question is, where is Israel going to go from at this stage? Are we going to go into the continuation of this war, which will bring to Israel all the worst results that can happen? We are going to find ourselves bogged down into Gaza, in the Gaza mud. We're going to find ourselves as a pariah state in the world. We're going to fuel anti-Semitism. We're going to invest a lot of money in this war, and we're going to lose not many soldiers doing so. So the big question is whether Israel is going to go with this fantasy of eliminating the Hamas. And as you know, guerrilla organizations have not been eliminated in war, but they have been eliminated in a long process. Are we going to go for this fantasy of elimination, or are we going to go the other way? And the protest yesterday was really, at the end of the day, all about this. Are we going to go the other way? And the other way is to make a bad deal. And unfortunately, it is a bad deal with a bad organization in order to see, at the end of the day, the release of the hostages, the end of this war, and the rehabilitation of Gaza Strip in the way that we would like it to be rehabilitated. We would like it to be a different Gaza Strip, but this will take a long time. This will take a process. It's not a question of our surgical military extra strike. as was said before.
I want to ask, you made a point about Israel possibly being a pariah state, but we have Ariel, a journalist, veteran journalist, talking about how clearly Hamas still poses a threat to the state of Israel. And if Hamas is not completely weeded out, it could pose a threat to the future. Ariel, what's your take on what Rami had to say there?
Yes, thank you. So first of all, I totally agree with Rami regarding Qatar and actually Egypt as well. Unfortunately, the means of those two countries are not positive, especially regarding Qatar, which I agree with Rami a lot. It's a dangerous state, not only to Israel, but also to the entire Western world. And I hope that in the US, there will be awareness to what this tiny but dangerous country is doing. Now, regarding Hamas, you know, and Rami, I want to tell you that as well. I've been in the Gaza Strip just a few weeks ago, and I saw how much was achieved by the IDF. But what I also saw was just turning my back and seeing Kibbutz Nachaloz, seeing the city of Sderot, seeing the city of Netivot. It's all so close. You know, it's 10 minutes running. I'm not talking about taking a car, okay? We cannot leave that organization over there the way it is now. And I agree with you. You will never reach zero terror from Gaza. You're right. But the way they are now, you can't leave it this way. You have to hit them and hit them very, very strong, hopefully to bring the hostages as well, and then begin a new phase. But to leave it the way it now, too dangerous for the state of Israel.
Rami, before
I beg to differ, as you understand.
Go ahead.
I beg to differ, and I want to say that the biggest achievement of Hamas, and Ariel there is missing the point, the biggest achievement is making Israel a pariah state in the world, fueling anti-Semitism, fueling anti-Israelism around the world, and creating a situation with this tiny, nothing organization that has only guerrilla capability, putting us at the end of the line in the world. We are suffering, or we will suffer, on the political side, on the economic side, on the scientific side, and not to say anything about anti-Semitism and what you Jews in the United States are going to suffer from. And I've just come back from the United States, and I can tell you it is evident. It is evident around the world. And we should look not at the dangers, but at the worst case, or the least, as I said to you yesterday. We are looking not at the best solution. We are looking at the least evil. We're looking at the solution that is the best for us. It is a bad solution. We will have to deal with the Hamas for years to come. But that's the only solution that is left to us. If we go, like the Prime Minister wants, into the Gaza Strip, we're going to commit hundreds of thousands of soldiers, hundreds of thousands of families, the Israeli economy, and the Jewish situation in the world. And I beg and pray for this not to happen.
I very appreciate you, Rami, and we had a lot of points during the war that we agree one with each other. Regarding this coming phase, I disagree. I think we still have to have this another move against Hamas.
It is futile. It won't bring anything about.
But I agree with the dilemma. It's complicated. There are many considerations, including what's going on around the world, including anti-Semitism, all of that. I very agree. But still, you can't leave them the way they are now in Gaza. That's my sense.
Both of you
They're going to be a pariah state. You won't be able to go.
No. Your prediction is no.
You're wrong. You're going to pay with taxes. You're going to pay your taxes. Hundreds of thousands of families of Israeli reserve soldiers are going to be broken as they are today. And we will see how many soldiers are coming to this next Messianic war. This war
not Messianic.
It's Messianic. Look at what happened yesterday.
You're going way too far.
500,000 Israelis
let me say more,
went to the streets in order to tell you that what you are doing is against their will, and it is against the interest of Israel, and it's for a reason which is connected to a political ideology which is completely Messianic. Agree to it or not, this is what it is.
We disagree about that. There will be a lot of stations to stop before we reach all those tough predictions you give. But again, you can't leave them the way they are now, and no one talking about them.
Both of you, I'm so sorry. We are out of time.
It's your fears.
But
it's your fears, but it's not reality.
We appreciate both of your perspectives because you know what? It showcases that Israel has so many different experiences, perspectives on all of this, and that's exactly what we want to bring to our viewers. So Ariel, Rami, thank you so much for your time. We always appreciate having you on.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Prime Minister Netanyahu and the Israeli cabinet were caught by surprise by the positive Hamas response to hostage talk mediators. Earlier, Prime Minister Netanyahu had stated that the idea of a partial hostage for ceasefire deal was dead, and the IDF plan to occupy Gaza City was moving forward. Netanyahu commented while visiting soldiers and officers of the Gaza division.
ראשית, הבעתי בשמכם, בשם ממשלת ישראל ובשמי, הערכה עצומה להישגים הכבירים של צה"ל במלחמת התקומה, מלחמת 7 החזיתות. שנית, התרשמתי מרוח הקרב והנחישות להשלים את הכרעת החמאס ושחרור כל חטופינו. שלישית, שוחחתי עם שר הביטחון והרמטכ"ל על התוכניות שלנו לגבי העיר עזה והשלמת משימותינו. ואני, כמוכם, שומע את הדיווחים בתקשורת, ומהם אתם יכולים להתרשם מדבר אחד. החמאס נמצא בלחץ אטומי.
The comments by the Prime Minister followed a post by U.S. President Trump, who wrote, "Hostages will only be released when Hamas is confronted and destroyed." The message from Trump was taken in Jerusalem as backing for Israel's planned operation to capture Gaza City. The message came before Hamas announced its acceptance of the hostage for ceasefire agreement as presented by the mediators. After the Lebanese order to disarm Hezbollah, it's now Israel's turn to pull out of South Lebanon. That's the word from U.S. envoy Thomas Barak, who called on Jerusalem to honor commitments it made under the ceasefire that paused the war with Hezbollah after the Lebanese government launched a process to disarm the terrorists. The Lebanese government did make the demand, but Hezbollah is refusing to give up its arms. Nevertheless, Barak said Washington expects Israel to fully withdraw from 5 strategic points it's held inside Lebanon since the November ceasefire. Hezbollah leader Naim Qassem is insisting that there would be no life in Lebanon if the Lebanese army tries to take its arms by force. The U.S. envoy says it's now Israel's turn to comply with ceasefire commitments.
I mean, there's always a step-by-step approach, but I think the Lebanese government has done their part. They've taken the first step. Now what we need is Israel to comply with that equal handshake.
The U.S. diplomat went on to say that Washington is in talks with Israel on determining its position, adding that in the next few weeks we are going to see progress on all sides.
Because there has been no American proposal to Israel. They have not negated anything. What we've been doing is discussing, first of all, with the Lebanese government what their position is. We're in the process of now discussing with Israel what their position is. So there's no violation other than the violations that have continued since the November 2024 agreement of cessation of hostilities, in which each party is saying it's the other one.
There was no immediate response from Jerusalem.
Welcome back to ILTV News. While the ceasefire proposal remains under consideration in Jerusalem, the IDF is moving ahead with plans for the major operation to take over Gaza City. Tens of thousands of reservists are being called up for the operation. More from ILTV's Devil Klein.
At least 14 terror operatives attempted to raid an IDF encampment in Khan Yunis, southern Gaza, emerging from a tunnel around 9 a.m. and attempting to kidnap soldiers. The terrorists fired RPGs and machine guns at the Kfir Brigade's Haru reconnaissance unit and approached their post. IDF troops responded, killing at least 8 gunmen, with others likely escaping back into the tunnel from which they emerged. In the coming days, the IDF will mobilize at least 60 and as many as 80,000 reservists ahead of the planned Gaza City operation. Last night, IDF Chief Eyal Zamir presented Defense Minister Katz with a detailed operation plan. The action plan presented by the IDF to the defense minister includes the immediate mobilization of 60,000 reservists, now in addition to the 20,000 already called up. Reservists will be given about 2 weeks to train for the new operation. Under the reported plan, regular forces will surround Gaza City along several dividing axes following the evacuation of about 1 million civilians to the southern part of Gaza. The objective remains the full evacuation of northern Gaza. In the coming days, the IDF will begin encouraging Gaza City residents to move south. Humanitarian corridors will be designated for safe passage, and additional aid distribution centers, field hospitals, and medical facilities are already planned. It's day 684 of the war in Gaza. Amid the ongoing warfare, the IDF and Shin Bet have announced the killing of the terrorists responsible for kidnapping Yarden Bibas from Kibbutz Nir Oz on October 7th. Officials say Jihad Najir was targeted in an airstrike on August 10th, and his death has only now been confirmed. Yarden Bibas responded to the announcement, saying that he got part of his closure. He replied, "Thank you to the army for eliminating the man who kidnapped me. He will no longer be able to harm anyone else." Back in April, the IDF killed Muhammad Awad, who kidnapped the other Bibas family members. Yarden was freed in a prisoner exchange with the terrorists on February 1st. The other members of the Bibas family, his wife Shiri and sons Ariel and Kfir, were all murdered by the terrorists, with their bodies returned to Israel in coffins.
Syria has issued a rare confirmation of direct talks with Israel. The announcement on the official Sana news agency comes as the U.S. pushes for Washington and Damascus to stabilize ties. There has yet to be confirmation from the Israeli side. We have more from ILTV's Steve Leibowitz.
There has been no official comment from Jerusalem on the reported Paris talks between Israeli Minister of Strategic Affairs Ron Dermer and the Syrian Foreign Minister Assad Sahibani. The talks were reportedly brokered by U.S. envoy Thomas Barrack, who told reporters that the Trump administration backs any efforts that will bring lasting stability and peace. Washington says it ultimately wants U.S.-Syria normalization and Syrian entry into the Abraham Accords. The official Syrian news agency Sana reported that al-Shabani met with Israeli officials to discuss de-escalating tensions and restoring a 1974 ceasefire agreement. The report went on, the talks resulted in understandings that support stability in the region. It's now been widely reported that Dermer and Barrack also discussed the creation of a humanitarian corridor to the Druze enclave in Syria amid ongoing concerns in the Sueda area. Druze spiritual leader in Israel, Sheikh Muafek Tarif, met the U.S. envoy in Paris. They discussed plans for a humanitarian route from the Druze village of Hadar, near Mount Hermon, to Sueda, allowing aid delivery to those affected by recent massacres of Syrian Druze.
For more of the latest updates from Israel, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter at iltv.tv or download the ILTV Plus app. That's it for ILTV's weekly review. See you next week.